So I am down here today in Battery Park City. This is the most family-oriented neighborhood in all of Manhattan, maybe all of New York City. I believe 1 in 3 people is part of a family, or 1 in 3 households is married with children, which is quite rare in New York City. I think there's only a couple neighborhoods really in Manhattan where more than a quarter of households that is the case. So why am I here? Why do I want to talk about family? Well, it's really simple. Over the past year, the lockdown fanatics have been trying to erode the nuclear family, try to erode the family unit, which has made our country so successful. Why are they doing this? How are they doing this? What's going on? So when you have a family, when you have a child in this country, you have an ownership stake in the future of our country. You want our country to succeed. If you don't have kids, once you're dead, you don't really care what happens, and that's fine. But, you obviously have a vested interest in what happens. Just like if you own a house, you have a vested interest in what goes on in your community. And in terms of crime and other things, you can't just pack up and leave because you have a vested interest. You have a house. And, you can always pack up and move, but your house, if there's crime in the neighborhood or whatever, is going to be worth a lot less when you pack up and leave. So you have a vested interest. You have an ownership stake in the success or failure of your country and of your community. And how have they been eroding this? Well, it's very simple. They have said that funerals don't matter. We don't need to say goodbye to our dead anymore. Weddings don't matter, either for economic reasons, because they took your job away. They said your job is not essential, or they said your wedding wasn't essential. They postponed it. And for some people that kind of matters. Getting that done, and especially with relatives and stuff, really making sure that everybody can be there. And then the holidays, they said Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, whatever get-togethers you want to have were not essential. You didn't need to have them. They said a Zoom Thanksgiving is better than an ICU Christmas. And, for some people, that was their last Thanksgiving, their last Christmas. And for some people, they were deprived of spending that with their family, and their family was deprived of spending that holiday with them. And really, the idea that you have this ownership stake is really what drives the success of our country. It's why we strive to do better. It's why we put our kids through college. It's why we, volunteer around our community and pick up trash. We want our kids to inherit a better world than we inherited, and then hopefully they will pass on a better world to the next generation. And essentially, by taking away this ownership stake in our country, they are creating, the lockdown fanatics, their goal is to create sort of a communist country where there's an oligopoly at the top, very few people at the top control the wealth, control the housing. People like Jeff Bezos, for example, of Amazon, and the other Fortune 500 companies out there. And then the rest of us are all renters, and we just don't have a stake. That's why they support all these social causes, like defunding the police and everything. They don't want you to care about what's going on. They just care about the profits and basically making us a serf class in this country. So then we go into vaccine passports, and Bill de Blasio has been saying, essentially, I think he is now allowing kids to be exempt because they're not allowed permitted to get the vaccines yet, but he's really pushing for that now. He said we don't want to separate families, but they've been separating families all along. If you are on the other side of the world and you have one of those AstraZeneca vaccines, or the one they developed in China, some of the other countries, they say that's not good enough. So even if you're vaccinated, I think this still kind of applies to a lot of people. And it really ties into what the lockdown fanatics' goals are. And it's really the destruction of the family unit, the destruction of the entrepreneurial system where you can own a business and you can have an ownership stake. They want to destroy any ownership that we have in this country. And that's for anybody, who wants to have that ownership stake and really see our country do well. They don't want to see our country do well. They want to see the top 1% do very well, and they want everyone else to be serfs. So that's why we have to say no to the vaccine passports, no to the lockdowns, and we have to find a way to repatriate or redistribute the wealth that has been unfairly. It's not a free market if you weren't allowed to run your business and Jeff Bezos was allowed to run Amazon or Target was allowed to stay open while while encouraging the riots that burned your small business to the ground. Not a free market. That is a racket. And unless we find a way to really redistribute and make things equal and fair due to the unfairness that had happened, I don't, we really just have to make these people whole and try to bring the country back together. And the lockdown fanatics, they don't want to do that. They just want to destroy, and build wealth for the top 1%.